Hello everyone. I previously uploaded a reading of Einstein's God Letter in German, and I thought it would be easy to find a good English translation to put in the description box. But I finally gave up and decided instead to translate it myself and also record that translation for you. As a preface, I'd first like to give a justification for some of my translation choices, because they tend to differ from what's appeared in the media recently. First, there's this part in the first section of the letter. This has been, I think, universally translated as your personal ideal, Ihr persönliches Ideal in German. But then I kind of went along with that translation, but then I saw a hyphen between this first and second word, and then I kind of thought that the dot on the first word was probably an umlaut instead, and then it kind of fell into place that was probably über, not ihr, so above or beyond instead of your, which makes more sense. He's not talking about necessarily just the addressee's ideal. He's talking about a shared ideal they have, and how it goes beyond the personal, beyond the individual, über Persönliches. It's kind of written in a strange way in German with the hyphen, but then again he writes further on, he writes Inkarnation, incarnation with a C as well. So I guess, having lived in the United States for such a long time, and this being toward the end of his life, his German spelling may have been a bit off by then. Secondly, and this I found very strange, it's not really a translation error, but many translations I've seen have rendered this as American attitude, these two words, but it clearly says un-American attitude. Then lastly, there's this word, which has also been, I think, universally mistranslated. Everyone seems to read it as Qualität, quality, and I can't for the world of me see that. It says something different. I had a difficult time seeing it at first, but then when you look at it, when you look at other words in his letter, you can see that that's the way he writes his D, and then it kind of falls into place, and you see Dignität, which makes sense. He's talking about the Jewish people and how their dignity is not different from any other people's dignity. They're the same. So I made the choice as well to read that as dignity, Dignität, and not as quality. Right, that's the preface to my translation of the letter. If there's anything in the previous stuff you disagree with, especially if you're a native speaker of German, please feel free to comment, and I'll make any corrections that are necessary. And here's the recording of the actual letter. Enjoy. Princeton, 3rd of January 1954. Dear Mr. Gutkind, inspired by Brouwer's repeated suggestion, I've been reading a great deal in your book in the last few days, and I thank you for sending it to me. What particularly struck me was this. With regard to our actual attitude to life and to human society, we are broadly similar. An ideal beyond the personal that strives for freedom from self-centered desires, strives to make existence more beautiful and enriched, with an emphasis on the purely humane, where inanimate things are only seen as a means to which no dominant role should be granted. It is this attitude in particular that unites us as a truly un-American attitude. Still, had it not been for Brouwer's encouragement, I would never have brought myself to delve into your book in any way, as it is written in a language that is inaccessible to me. For me, the word God is nothing more than the expression and product of human weaknesses, the Bible a collection of honourable but still exceedingly primitive legends. No interpretation, however subtle, could change that for me. These rarefied interpretations are by their nature extremely manifold, and are in almost no way related to the original text. For me, the unadulterated Jewish religion, like all other religions, is an incarnation of primitive superstition. And the Jewish people, to whom I gladly belong, and whose mentality I am deeply embedded in, for me, possess no dignity distinct from all other peoples. In my experience, they are also no better than other human groups, although they are protected from the worst excesses by a lack of power. Otherwise, I cannot discern anything chosen about them. In general, I find it painful that you claim a privileged position and try to defend it by two walls of pride, an external one as a human being and an internal one as a Jew. As a human, you claim to a certain extent a dispensation from otherwise accepted causality. As a Jew, a privilege for monotheism. But a limited causality is no longer a causality at all, as our wonderful Spinoza was the first to incisively recognize. And the animistic conception of nature religions is, as a matter of principle, not nullified by monopolization. Such walls will only lead us to certain self-deceit, but our moral efforts are not advanced by them, rather the contrary. Now that I've quite openly expressed our differences in intellectual considerations, it is still clear to me that we are quite close to each other in what is essential, that is, in our evaluations of human conduct. What separates us is only intellectual embellishment, or rationalization in Freudian language. Therefore, I think we would get along quite well when discussing concrete matters. With kind thanks and best wishes, yours, Albert Einstein.